Here we are, Real Recovery Talk. I am your host, Tom Conrad. And in today's episode, it is just me. I am riding solo, but again, thank you for tuning into YouTube and watching these podcast episodes on the YouTubes. It's kind of fun. I like doing the video format. So if you're listening on the podcast form or a podcast player, just go over to YouTube, go to Real Recovery Talk YouTube channel, and if you would like to subscribe, that would be cool. Don't feel obligated, but it sure would help us out. And you can obviously leave us comments, and if there's things that you want to see or you want us to discuss, by all means, let us know in the comments section. And if you're listening on the podcast player, leave us a review. If you can, that would be great. If you want to leave us a 5-star, would be delighted. If you want to leave us a 1-star, I suppose you can, but I would just hope that you could email us first and let us know why, and potentially we can fix it. So, anyways, in today's episode, what I wanted to discuss, and because it was part of a reading that I had this week, and I try and do my devotionals as best I can. I don't do them every day, but I try and keep up with it. And one of the devotionals that I do read is one by John Maxwell. And in particular, this was a devotional for August 4th. And as I was reading this, it really resonated with me. And I thought this could be a phenomenal podcast episode. So I wanted to share this and kind of give you some of my perspective of it. Now, without going into the actual reading and reading the whole thing to you, I'll give you the summary. Basically, it is, do you have a vision for your team? Now, this devotional that I read, it does revolve more around leadership and more business type stuff, but I try and incorporate as much out of these devotionals as I can into my own personal life, as well as my business life here at Rock Recovery Center, stuff like that. But as I was reading this, I got to thinking, well, this is something that I could really talk about with people when they get sober. The idea behind having a vision for your team. If you don't have a vision for your team, then it's really hard to kind of navigate the ways that you're going to go. So I'm thinking to myself, how can this be incorporated to people that are new in sobriety? Well, when we're new in sobriety, we tend to just put down the drink and we put down the drug. And a lot of times things stay the same, which is okay for a period of time. But if things stayed the same, then our sobriety gets stale. And I'll say it a million times over. Stale sobriety is not good. We can't have stale sobriety. If we do, we're destined to relapse. Our sobriety needs to be enjoyable, invigorating. It has to be something that we want to continue to do. Because otherwise, what the heck is the point? I had a lot of fun drinking and using drugs, and I would have no problem going back to that if I absolutely had to. And if my life isn't worth living, if it's boring, if it's stale, if it's mundane, and I'm doing the same things over and over and over again every single day, it's going to get stale. You will, in fact, relapse. So, having a vision for your team, if you're a leader at your business, when you have that vision, it makes it very easy to outline how you are going to get there. So when we're new in sobriety, it's okay. You put down the drink, you put down the drug, you spend some time focusing on yourself and what drove you to use those drugs and drink the alcohol. But at some point in time, you position yourself to where sobriety is now expected. When sobriety is now kind of an expectation, it's time for you to start thinking more macro. What is it going to consist of moving forward? I've been sober now for 3 months. I haven't had a drink or a drug in 3 months or 6 months or 1 year. What does the rest of my life look like? What is this going to consist of? And this is how I incorporated this reading because I thought that it made total sense. When we get sober and we get to that point of thinking, what is next for me? We have to have a vision for our life, for our sobriety, so on and so forth. So I thought the very first thing that would make sense is having an idea of where you want to go. Where do you want to go in your life now that you are sober? I got sober at 26 years old. I had no idea what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go, the life that I wanted to live. I had no clue. But I was, over the course of 3 to 6, maybe 9 months, I was able to understand that I didn't want to go back to working on cars, that I didn't want to go back to living in Pennsylvania. I had a general idea. So I encourage you, have an idea of where you want to go. And I'm not saying that you have to have some huge clarification and like, I want to move out of the country and I want to do this and I want to do that, yada, yada, yada. Start off small, but create something that can give you some sort of guidance to where you want to go. What do you want to do with your life? Okay. I worked on cars till I was 26 years old. I hated it. I hated every minute of it. The only reason I did it was because the schooling was free. My dad did it. And I kind of felt like I was in a position to where I had to do it. But I didn't want to do that. So I knew very early on in my sobriety, I am not, under any circumstances, going back to working on cars. How much money do I want to make? How much money do you want to make? Do you want to travel? Do you want a family? If you do want a family, how many kids do you want? Do you want any kids? Do you want to adopt kids? Write down, just sketch out basic outlines of things. I've done this time and time over to where I'll just get out a piece of paper and a pencil and just start writing things down. And there's no real method behind it. You'll hear a lot of people that, create vision boards and stuff like that. And I'm a huge fan. I personally have never done one, but I can see how it would work. But for me, pencil, piece of paper, writing down some ideas to kind of just jog my creativeness, I suppose, and get me thinking, okay, what is it? What's next for me? Once you do that, you got to kind of figure out, okay, I have this narrowed down to, I want to go back to school. I would like to study finance, or I would like to study business or marketing or communication, or I want to be a nurse, or I want to be a doctor, a psychiatrist, whatever the case is. I want to be a garbage man. How are you going to get there? What are the steps that need to be taken to get to where you want to go? Remember, we have to have this vision. We have to understand and know this is potentially my ultimate goal. This is what I want to achieve later on down the road. How will I get there? If you want to become a business owner, you don't necessarily need to go to college. If you want to have a business management degree, well, you need to go to college. If you want to become a registered nurse, you're going to have to go to college. If you want to learn the trades, if you want to become a plumber or an electrician, you're going to have to go to a trade school. Start thinking of these things and how you are going to attain them. And this is stuff that can be done on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. They can change. What you want to do a week ago may not be the same thing that you want to do this week or the following week. These things can change. The purpose behind this is to just simply keep you moving, keeping your creative juices flowing, understanding that this primary purpose is to keep my sobriety from becoming stale. And it's very important. I don't know if I can stress it enough. A lot of times people get sober, they have families, they have children. Maybe their children are now out of the house. Maybe they're empty nesters. And they look at this as an opportunity to, now I'm sober, my kids are off to college, I can do whatever I want. Maybe you want to travel. Okay, well, if you want to travel, what does that entail? Do you need to sell your house? Do you need to sell your car? What is involved in this? And take action steps to get there. If we can't take the action steps to get there and we just spend all of our time thinking of ideas and the things that we would love to do, but we don't know how to get there or how to do it, and we put no action behind it, then it's all for nothing. You have to put action behind it in order for this stuff to work. I can't stress enough, and if you've listened to this podcast for any length of amount of time, that's how that's said. You hear me say a lot, you show me your friends, I'll show you your future. I'm huge on networking. I'm huge on meeting other people. So whatever it is that you decide on and what your future looks like, consider that you will most definitely be able to attain these goals and the things that you want to achieve in your sobriety and in your life by networking with other people that have attained or achieved these same goals that you have for yourself. The amount of relationships, the amount of people that I've met inside of sobriety, whether it's in Alcoholics Anonymous or any other support program that you choose, my biggest thing that I did for myself was I met new people. And you never know who you're going to meet, the conversations that you're going to have, the opportunities that are going to be presented to you unless you do it. And I tell all of our clients that come in here to Rock Recovery Center, the best thing, the number one thing that you can do for yourself is to meet new people. Now, these people that you meet, they have to be obviously conducive for you and your recovery. Don't go meeting people on Tinder or Bumble or any of these dating apps and say, hey, Tom, guess what? I'm networking and I'm meeting all these new people. Doesn't work that way. Go out, build organic relationships with people, network with them, have conversations, go out to coffee with people. And you'd be very surprised at how quickly you can attain some of these goals, these aspirations that you have for yourself. But again, it hinges on having a vision for you and for your life in sobriety. So once you are able to kind of decide, okay, this is what I want for myself, on a very broad level, and this is how I think I'm going to get there. What happens when you do get there? Then what? Because it happens. We set these goals for ourselves, and although it's very good to attain these goals, and I think it's very important when we do, what happens then? Well, you can help other people attain those goals. You can change your goals and set another goal. If you go and get a bachelor's in social work and maybe you're like, that wasn't too bad. Maybe you want to go and get your master's in social work and then go get licensed as a licensed clinical social worker or a licensed mental health counselor. Who knows? You can basically do whatever it is you want within reason. You can't decide that you want to become an NBA basketball player because chances are that's not going to happen. It's not realistic. So really figuring out, okay, I'm going to do these things. I know where I want to go, what I want to do, and I have an idea as to how I'm going to get there and what it's going to look like when I do get there. But when I do get there, what will I do next? Again, this stuff is just to keep your memory going, to keep you thinking, because it's so important that when we get sober and we finally put the plug in the jug and we're able to now make decisions for ourselves, and we can really choose what the rest of our life is going to look like, you got to keep it going. Don't let your sobriety get stale. This life, I can't even believe I'm saying this. I sound like my father. This life is way too short. You have to take advantage of it. And if you let your sobriety get stale, I can all but guarantee you that you will drink again. That is it for this episode of Real Recovery Talk. Thank you for tuning in to the podcast and also for watching on YouTube. Again, please leave us comments, whatever the case is. Correspond with us. We love hearing from you. And that is it. We will see y'all later.